on, buddy?
What's up, bro?
How are ya?
Doing good, man.
Nice to have them kind of backing you.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of shops like that or businesses like that, like when we're not gonna really want you to come hanging around here for much longer and then she kind of girl birthdays are always
It's as big as I thought it was gonna be.
anyone get really wild?
Kind of Courtney Comox is kind of like middle ground for us. We actually got a big chalet. We went to Mount Washington actually.
Oh hell yeah.
I feel like it was 15 or 20 of us, and it was dumping snow all weekend.
I heard they got a ton of it.
Like 5 high waist deep snow.
Really? Have you hit 30 yet?
And 31.
There you go.
Yeah.
Got it all.
Yeah, it's kind of.
Really?
I get having a camera around all times.
Oh, okay. Hell yeah. I'm trying to go for like something.
Yeah,
it's
the old
gonna
Ryan
be
Reynolds.
impossible, but could you give me like something
Yeah.
like that?
So you want to kind of, because he's got a little bit probably shorter on the sides than you have right now, and then a little bit more length to kind of push over up top there.
Yeah, because like my hair goes all like kind of like this.
Yeah.
It's just way too long. I got this
Yeah.
weird cowlick back here.
Yes. Yeah.
And if we can keep it like nice and like tidy around like the edges and stuff. And
Yeah.
Nice sideburn. I'm not sure about the sideburns.
Yeah, I mean, it's like sideburns generally, like having them kind of halfway up the ear is usually the most.
Is it possible like having like taper like super kind of like metro kind of cleaned up?
Yeah. Yeah, like a super sharp like taper at the bottom.
Yeah, but like keeping it like as long as possible, but like nice, no like weird this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, 100%, yeah. Yeah, because that usually doesn't do anything for the style. Like, it's good to have a form of a sideburn, but the craziness that kind of sticks out doesn't really go with much in terms of styling, so.
There's this really great barber in Alberta. She went like Calgary by trains, and she always did my sideburns like amazing, but
Oh, okay, yeah.
I never wanted a mask. But
Yeah.
you seem young and cool, bro.
Well, I try. I'm slowly getting older and older.
I mean, this is our first time together, right?
Yes.
It's official.
Totally.
November 17th, bro.
That's right, bro. You get matching tattoos. So are you from Esquimalt?
Nah, man, I've been here like 2 years.
Oh, okay, nice.
Yeah.
Where were you living before that, in Alberta?
Yeah, I was living in Sherwood Park, living out there. Fort Saskatchewan, driving dump truck out there.
Oh, wow, okay.
And then I was living in Saskatoon for a year, driving for Pepsi.
Yeah.
I'm originally from Toronto, Ontario.
Oh, wow.
How about you?
I grew up just north of Vancouver on the Sunshine Coast.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, which is a beautiful, beautiful place. Yeah, I've been out here for 12 years, so it feels like home.
It's so beautiful.
Oh. Unreal. So do you have like a YouTube channel that you're doing?
I mean, I'm trying to like post things on Twitter more
Yeah.
because I'm bored. I'm so bored.
Oh man, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and I'm kind of liking it.
Yeah.
So
It's really be creative and have fun with it. It's a really, that's how I started out, was just shooting my own content. And then I ended up doing it for quite a long time, doing that, and then started getting into like wedding videography.
oh yeah,
That just kind of like naturally progressed into that.
yeah, you can make some pretty good money.
Yeah, there's some. I mean, when the first 2 or 3 years of doing it, like the money was not fantastic, just to get to build up a portfolio and show people you kind of know what you're doing. And then after that, you can, once you have some stuff to show people, you're able to kind of pick and choose which weddings you want to do and how much you want to charge. And if they say yes, great. If they say no, it's like, okay, well that's fine. If you have it as a side hustle, then it's not, make or break for you putting food on the table every month. So,
Fair.
but, and then I ended up moving in, working with a media company in town here. It's called Pacific Media Group. So I kind of came on as their videographer and photographer, and we did a lot of real estate stuff. So we worked with real estate brokerages doing all their content and stuff like that, which was okay. It's nothing incredible, but
Something for the resume.
okay, yeah, for sure. So I started to do that. I did that for about 2.5, 3 years, and then I started to kind of get really tired of it. It started to all feel the same after a while.
But bro, so you can have like a wicked side gig though, right?
Yeah, that was the thing. It's like I had that as my side gig, and it turned into almost like more of my main job than anything. So I was doing that, most of the week.
Are you like a gear snob? Like how much gear do you have?
I have a lot. Like I shoot with Sony personally. That's kind of my go-to.
What's with their new? I was reading like last week. They're like some mirrorless or like metal lenses. You heard about that shit?
No.
Yeah, there's like some mirrorless metal lenses or some shit. I think.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've shot with them for majority of the time I've had a camera. And then for my work, they wanted me to shoot with a company called Red.
Oh yeah.
So we were shooting with
a lot of YouTube guys use them. Like
yeah.
MKBHD, whatever his name is.
Exactly, yeah. So we had a Red Komodo that we were shooting with, and the setup that I was using for that was like just over 20 grand, which was insane. And
isn't that like a cheap one though?
It is on the cheaper side, yeah. Like that was
those things you can get like crazy expensive for.
Oh
like
yeah,
50
you can
Gs.
pay 6 figures for that stuff. But that's like an entry level cinema camera.
Fair.
And luckily, like my work, like they bought everything. They're like, whatever lens you need, we'll go buy it. Whatever camera you need, go buy it.
Oh, they liked you, Ed.
Yeah. Well, it's, like I was doing a lot of content for them, so they were making good money for sending me to gigs and me kind of doing all the, and I would do everything from start to finish. They needed a director of photography, I'd have to do that and have to kind of like plan everything for them and do all that. So I was doing a lot of work, so they wanted to make sure I was happy, and the money was okay. It wasn't like incredible where I completely give up, my day job and do that fully, but it was fun because I do love shooting and I love making content and editing stuff and having fun with it. So it was a good way to get better at it and kind of learn a lot.
What's your editing setup?
Like I generally was I was editing with, they had me on a Mac, yeah. So they got me a decked out like, Mac M2 with, a terabyte of, hard drive and 64 gigabytes of RAM, and like it had to be running pretty smooth to handle how much editing we were doing.
Okay.
So we were shooting we're editing with Final Cut for majority of what we were doing, and I used to edit with Premiere Pro, and then I kind of toyed with the idea of moving to DaVinci Resolve. But I don't know. I got just so used to Final Cut that was kind of my go-to for majority of stuff. And then, now that I bought this shop from Doug, this is my main thing now. I'm doing this 5 days a week, and still shoot a bit of content for the media company I was working with, and they have me do some side stuff when I can. I have Sunday, Mondays off, so it's a pretty good time to do that. So,
bro, that's awesome.
Dude,
you're set.
It's fun, yeah.
And you're so young, dude.
Yeah.
Bro, you're gonna be like Doug in Mexico for like six months out of the year soon.
I sure hope so, man, but another 20, 30 years, I don't think.
Nah, not even, bro. That's sweet.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not editing.
Yeah.
What would be the best low budget, if I had like an old Windows PC, like how would you edit videos?
I mean, the nice thing with
recommendation, bro.
DaVinci Resolve is it's free. So it's tricky because it's really an incredible program if you want to learn how to like do color grading and stuff like that with your footage.
Is it one of those things where it's like really, it's not refined, it's really like complex kind of thing, one of those programs?
It is complex, but I mean, it is super well reviewed and a lot of people use it.
Okay.
So you're going to have
Lots
a
of
million,
tutorials online.
dude, it's going to be endless. So you could go on there and get like probably a 20-minute rundown on how to properly edit on that, and it looks complicated, but I truly think that after you do it for probably a day or so, you get pretty good at it. So you shoot mainly with your phone?
Yeah. I literally just bought a new phone, S23 Ultra.
Oh hell yeah!
And the camera's phenomenal on it.
Insane.
It's really quick.
Yeah.
I've never really used a camera before, so I don't know what to compare it to, but
yeah, no, I think realistically, like phones now will, I mean, even like the new iPhone 15, like it's got a 48 megapixel camera in it, right? It's insane. So like, people will stop bringing cameras around because their phone is going to do more than enough for what they need. But I mean, I still love bringing my camera around. Like, you really can't beat it. It truly is the dynamic range you get from a camera. You can't get it in a phone. You eventually will, but for now, you're just gonna get some really nice kind of photos that you can throw on Instagram or make a story of it and stuff like that. But
So what kind of Sony camera do you have?
I shoot with a A7 III.
So that's like top dog, right?
It used to be. It's an old camera. Like, it came out probably like 7 years ago, but it's still incredible as a hybrid camera. Like, it shoots great photos and shoots great video. So I mean, if I was doing photo and video work full time and I was like completely doing it solo and just freelance, then I would go out and buy, one of the more high-end Sony cameras. There's a really cool one called the FX3 or the FX30. There's two different models of it, but that's by Sony. And
Just
so
the
they're
same
like,
processor kind of thing?
yeah, they're like a really, really low budget cinema camera that shoots like insane video. And it costs probably like $3,000 for the camera, but it's gonna give you like, I mean, it's approved for Netflix, so you could shoot stuff on that, and that could be used to film shows or documentaries all that way. So it's incredible. Like, you can't get that quality from any other kind of budget around that point. I think eventually I will probably get that camera once I want to kind of start shooting more fun stuff like that.
Yeah, you are a gear snob. I love it.
Oh, 100%. It's like sneakers for me. Like, some people go crazy with like, all the new Nikes that come out and spend, thousands of dollars on that. But
Bro, I literally have 2 pairs of Jordan 13s in my trunk right now.
Yeah.
And the only difference is one colorway is red, one blue.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly it. It's like, but it's an investment too, right? Like, I have a lot of buddies who buy and sell shoes.
Investment for my happiness, bro.
That's it, yeah. Yeah, once you have an appreciation for that stuff, you love it. So it's really cool, and I kind of have that with cameras, I guess.
So for me, shoes is like a nostalgic thing from when I was younger. Like,
Yeah.
Was like your old man like a camera guy?
No, I don't know how it came to. I've always been kind of that kid that like always had a camera with him.
Oh, really? You're just
Yeah.
watching the news. It's like I kind of thought with this.
Yeah, I just like I'd mess around with like old cameras, I guess, just in terms of like my folks would have just some sort of like film camera sitting around for family vacations and things like that. And I love like taking photos, and whenever we'd go on a little road trip, I'd always be the one kind of taking photos of it.
Nice.
And then I just over time growing up on the Sunshine Coast, there's a lot of mountain biking, and my buddies were like started to get really insane with biking, like throwing themselves off of like huge 16, 17 foot drops, and I started getting to the point where I'm like, Kate, I cannot do that. I'm not skilled enough to be at this point, so I started to kind of point it more in the direction of, oh guys, like, you want me to film this? They're like, really? Like, you'd be okay with that? Like, instead of riding? And I'm like, yeah, man, for sure, no problem. Like, I'll take one for the team, I'll do it. And in my head, I'm like, oh God. Like 16, 17 years old, you're like, you don't want to be that guy being like, hey man, I'm really fucking nervous of doing this.
No, I can relate, bro.
Yeah.
I'm super nerdy and like kind of like a big scaredy cat.
Oh man, I was just like, get me out of here. So yeah, so I picked up a camera and started filming that. And then started, I had like this old Sony Handycam that was just like, you use like little tapes to record. It didn't even have memory cards.
Oh, bro, so you're like pure Sony diehard fan.
100%. Like, I used to have like little Cybershot cameras, and every year I'd buy like a new one for like $120, and it was just like this big deal. And so that's kind of how it all starts, and it really does start as a hobby, and then you start having friends who notice that you're doing it as a hobby and go, oh man, like, do you want to come and shoot this for me? Or, over time, someone sees you shooting stuff for your friends, and you go, oh, hey man, like, we haven't met, but I have this thing I need to help get shot, and any chance you want to come and do it, and we'll pay you, and it just goes from there. And the whole reason I started doing it was so I could buy new gear. Where I was like, yeah,
That's how it always starts.
100%. You're like, oh, if I can make like $500 doing this, I'll go get a new lens for my camera, and then you're like, oh, maybe I can do like 3 or 4 of these things and get like a whole new camera by itself.
This is like Wednesday, 10 o'clock at night, browsing through the internet, just like down like rabbit hole.
Absolutely, yeah.
Calculator.
Yeah.
All right, how many hours?
Oh yeah, you start becoming just like an absolute math whiz where you're like, okay, if I shoot 7 times this month and each one pays me $400 and I do this.
I've only known one other person that's been a Sony. My friend Neil from back home. He would like save up like for like the best Sony monitor, or back when like PS3 came out and had like the extra like memory card slots. He had that one like pre-ordered.
Yeah,
and he was super poor. Like he would save up like months to like save up.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, well, I find like Sony, they do make really good products. You know, all their stuff lasts for quite a long time, which is really cool. But their cameras that's where I really fanboy over it. They're like other stuff like TVs, I don't really care. I don't care if it's a Samsung or LG or whatever, but you know, I think the majority of what they do is great. But cameras are the big one.
So what's the big difference between, say, Canon, Nikon, and Sony?
That's a good question. I mean, some people will say, okay, well, like Sony is the absolute go-to at like low light shooting. So you'd be able to go outside right now and shoot something with like a really high ISO on your camera. And usually when you go really high on your ISO, you'll get like a really grainy footage, like it looks really just kind of shitty. Sony has been able to master their digital ISO that it can still look really, really clean and crisp and like make a completely dark setting look really bright and nice. So a lot of people love Sony for that, and then you'll have like Canon is really well known for their huge amount of lenses that they have. The new Canon, like they have changed it a bit where you'll need a different adapter to get like old lenses onto the new Sony cameras.
Okay.
But their color science is really good, like very true to like what you would see with the human eye. And then you'll find people with Nikon are usually like just people who shoot with Nikon generally that's what like their parent did or their grandparent or like a mentor of theirs, and that's why they stuck with it.
But these are all Japanese made, like manufactured.
They are, yeah. So it's like, you know, you really can't go wrong in any sense. It's just sort of how you want your footage to look.
Fuji too, right? That's one?
Fuji's huge. They've made like a massive comeback. I've had friends who've left all 3 of the major brands that you just said to go to Fuji because they've made their mirrorless cameras way easier to take around. They have really cool like presets built into the camera. So you can make all your digital photos, you can put presets on them to make it look like old Fuji like film. So that's really cool, which people really like. So it's interesting. I find you'll find a ton of different people will give you a really big argument on why they think Canon's the best or why they think Sony's the best. And you sort of just have to go with a grain of salt. You know, I shot a lot with the media company I was with. I shot with Canon when I wasn't shooting with the Red camera because they liked Canon just as a company. They really enjoyed it, and they bought a ton of Canon gear. So Canon was giving them some pretty solid deals on stuff. So I got to know Canon really well. And to be honest, it's not my favorite.
Fair. I mean, those sales guys can push pretty hard.
Absolutely. Oh yeah. And it's like, you know, as you were saying, like there's a lot of YouTube guys out there who will persuade you to go in a certain direction. They're gonna go, hey man, you know, I really think you should look at doing this, or I've tried this camera out and I absolutely love it. I'm getting rid of all my other Canons or my other Sony stuff or Nikon stuff, and I'm switching to Canon. And they'll have thousands and tens of thousands of people make a change because somebody on YouTube said so. You know, like a really big, you know, guy for Canada is Peter McKinnon. And I don't know if you've seen kind of his stuff on there, but he's a huge influencer especially for Canon. He used to work at a camera store, and he said like, you know, Canon was always his favorite. He always like, and then Canon reached out to him once he started getting big and said like, hey man, you want to be an ambassador for us? Like, you'll never buy a camera again in your life. Like, will completely hook you up with whatever you need. So,
How do you turn that down?
well, that's it. You know, and they also, he gets paid millions of dollars now because of his YouTube channel.
Okay, so say a bro wants to get like a Sony DSLR camera, and like out of the box the lens is like meh. How does one, if they're on like a budget, pick one versatile lens that's just well-rounded?
That's a good question. I mean, the most common all-around lens that you'll hear people talk about would be like a 24 to 70. The 24 will give you quite a nice wide-angle view, where 70 is going to give you like a nice enough punched-in, zoomed-in feel, where if you wanted to go shoot like a portrait, you could. And you know, you can carry that one lens around and get a pretty versatile feel for a lot of stuff. So I think most people would go that route. But you start to kind of like, most people will start to like really become a gearhead and start to be like, okay, you know, I have the 24 to 70, but like a 70 to 200, you know, would be incredible. And
Naturally.
with cameras, like they have the trifecta, which would be somebody having like a 16 to 35 lens, and then having a 24 to 70, and then a 70 to 200. So those three lenses would be able to get literally everything that you would ever need. So the majority of people make the argument that it's like, okay, we'll save up and get like as good as you can for those three lenses, and then once you have that, you technically should be good to go. But once again, they always put out new versions of them and better, you know, better f-stops and, you know, more light that will come in and all that stuff. So
Now, if you're not really focused on like photos and more video, would the Sony still be like a good ally?
oh yeah, it's, you know, I think Sony does incredible photos. I think they're, you know, just overall as a hybrid camera, I think they're fantastic. So that's just me though. You know, it's, I have friends who have attempted to go that route because I've pushed them into that direction. It's like, oh man, you gotta do Sony, and they do Sony and they buy, you know, like a pretty entry level Sony setup, and then they have a friend who has a Canon, they try the Canon and they go, oh my god, that's what I want. And then same thing with Nikon. I've had friends go, oh my god, Nikon's great, like I love Nikon, I'm getting rid of my Sony. It's like, oh yeah, one's different. It's interesting.
Sorry, choose.
It's hard, man. It's, you know, when I first started shooting with Canon, like when my media company got me to switch over and do that for work, like, at first I was pretty stoked. So I'm like, man, these are nice cameras, and it was like a high-end Canon camera, so you know, it had a really solid megapixel count, and you know, it had crazy dynamic range, and you know, it's a $7,000 body, you know, without any lenses.
Whoa.
Holy shit, dude.
Okay, so say we got like the top three in Fuji in the mix,
Yeah.
and we got all four of the best cameras that they make, and it's been 5 years. What one sells for the most? Resale value.
I would say
Canon.
no. I mean, Canon, because so many people use them, you find a ton of them on Marketplace.
They're like the high end.
Kind of, yeah. Pretty much. Like, you can have a lot of people who, I just find, like, if you were looking to get into a camera that you would be easily found on Marketplace for a really good deal,
Yeah.
Canon would be it.
Okay.
Sony would probably be next in line, just because a lot of people always upgrade their Sony cameras. You know, I don't really, Nikon, I don't think anyone shoots video with Nikon, to be honest.
Good to know.
Not that I know of, or not that any person I've watched on YouTube talks about. Everyone kind of either will stick to Canon or Sony for video. Some people shoot Fuji for video, but once again, not much. You know, resale value, I would say Sony does a really good job. Like, I've seen people buy a new Sony for, I'd say, $3,500 and then resell it a couple years later for like $3,000. You could still probably get it. So,
Damn.
they last a long time.
Take care of your shit, too.
Yeah, you take care of your stuff and make sure you always have, you know, a screen protector on it, because those things can take a beating pretty quick. So you kind of have to be careful with them.
You ever get involved in any of those like harnesses and stuff, like leather harnesses, straps?
Yeah, I have. You know, I find those are really good for. Those are really good for weddings, and you're wearing like a double camera setup. So harnesses generally have two cameras on them.
There's a shoe channel called Rose Anvil, and they do like a bunch of side like leather work.
Okay.
I guess I didn't know that, but his first business was like photography and stuff, and his girlfriend or whatever. And they're selling these. I'm like, oh, why would you do that?
Yeah, my wife got me one for Christmas years ago, and to be honest, I've never used it in like a shoot. Really nice. It's like a solid kind of strap that I can wear if I do have a double camera setup at something. But I mean, they're kind of awkward. Cameras generally aren't light, so those things are pretty heavy around you.
I'm a new man.
Yeah. That feeling better?
Yes.
So just nice and kind of like lightly tapered and kind of balance out the top, so it's going to be able to kind of flow over for you.
Beautiful.
Kept the length of the sideburns. I just took a lot of that kind of heaviness out of them, so they're not going to feel so bulky.
Killed them.
Yeah. Do you want any product in there to style it, or just gotta have it?
I'll get out your hair. You gotta go home, right?
Oh, eventually.
Thank you for fitting me in, man.
Oh, of
Before
course.
we go. Appreciate
No,
it.
my pleasure, man.
I'll be better at booking an appointment. I told Doug that, and I wasn't, but I'm gonna try it.
Yeah, it's, you know, I mean, it's harder and harder to get walk-in spaces these days. So we always just recommend people try to do the appointment just so that they're not disappointed. But yeah, it worked out. It was good.
Thanks, dude.
And you want to do card or cash?
Oh, car for sure.
Gotcha.
Come on, man.
Yeah, I don't hear too many people go cash these days.
Oh man, it feels really good.
Good. Glad you like it. Nothing like a fresh haircut.
Heck yeah. Thanks, bro.
Thanks, buddy. There you are.
Oh,
sir.
yeah.
Oh no, it's all good. And what was your name again, man?
Renee.
Yeah, Adam.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, buddy.
I'll see you again, bro. Sorry for the sweaty hands.
Oh, no sweat. Well, it's nice chat.
Heck yeah.
I find I don't get too many people. Like, don't ever.
How long have you guys been together?
Yeah.
All right, bro.